నానా అక్కడ కోల్తాను చూడు నాన్న చూడు నానా కాలుతానుడు
పిల్లగాడను మన పిల్ల మా వాళ్ళు డ్రైవర్ని తీసుకొని హైదరాబాద్ వెళ్ళి వాడిని జాయిన్ చేశారు నిన్న వాడిని రూమ్ దగ్గర వదిలిపెట్టి పిల్లగాడిని వాడేమో అటు రాత్రి రాంబాబు వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో ఉన్నారు. ఇప్పుడేమో ఇక్కడ మన అదే కర్నూలు వెళ్ళారు ఇవాళ పొద్దున. వెళ్ళి పిల్ల పుస్తకాలు తెచ్చుకోవాలి. ఆ పుస్తకాలు తీసుకొని ఇప్పుడు వస్తున్నారు, దారిలో ఉన్నారు. సాయంత్రం 6:30 కల్లా 6:30కి వస్తారు. ఏది కావు ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడే ఉంటారు. అదే అదే వెళ్ళలేదు. అదే మా వాడినే అదే జాబ్ వచ్చింది అక్కడ హైదరాబాద్ లో మొన్న. అదే వీడు వర్క్ చేసిన దాంట్లోనే వచ్చింది. అది గవర్నమెంట్దే కానీ ఇప్పుడు ప్రస్తుతం టెంపరీ.
హలో నాయుడు గారు వినపడుతుందా? హలో నాయుడు గారు వినపడుతుందా?
హలో
నాకు వినపడుతుంది వాయిస్ వినపడుతుందా?
క్లియర్ గా లేదండి, క్లియర్ గా లేదు.
ఇప్పుడు
హలో
వినపడుతుందా లేదా?
వినపడుతుంది కానీ క్లియర్ గా లేదు. ఇప్పుడు పర్వాలేదు. ఇప్పుడు పర్వాలేదు, ఇప్పుడు బాగానే ఉంది కొంచెం. ఇప్పుడు పర్వాలేదు.
ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఈ రెండు ఆపేశారా ఏసీలో? ఇంతకుముందు అంటే ఐడియల్గా ఉంది కాబట్టి జనాలు వచ్చిన తర్వాత హీట్ ఎక్కదా?
Based on voice.
Sentence. అక్కడ పెట్టమంటున్నారు, అక్కడ ఉంది కదా, అక్కడ అడ్డంగా ఉంటుంది.
Okay, no problem. Get.
Password please. Sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Join, sir.
Yeah.
వచ్చేసి మైక్ దగ్గర లైసెన్స్.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a true pleasure for me to welcome respected Dr. G. Damodar Reddy, Sir, Director, ICR Central Tobacco Research Institute, to webinar on Gandhian philosophy on the occasion of 150th birth anniversary celebration of Mahatma Gandhi. It is also an honor for us to welcome Professor N. Radhakrishnan, Director, Gandhi Smriti Darshan, New Delhi, and Padma Shri Dr. Ravindra Kumar, former Vice Chancellor, Meerut University, Meerut. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all heads of the division, research stations, scientists, technical, administration, and supporting staff of ICR CTR. Now I request our Director, Dr. D. Damodar Reddy, sir, to speak on this occasion.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas. Very distinct, sir. Very good afternoon, sir. Very distinguished speakers for today's program. Professor N. Radhakrishnan ji, who is holding the job of Director, Gandhi Smriti Darshan, New Delhi, and also we have got another very important speaker today, who is Padma Shri Ravindra Kumar, who was acting as Vice Chancellor, Meerut University. Today, we all know that this program is as part of the 150th birth anniversary of our Father of Nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. This has started last year on 2nd October, and tomorrow it's going to culminate this entire year-long celebrations, and also remembering some of the greatest principles of Mahatma Gandhi, with which he lived, not only lived, but also led the Indian struggle for independence, and fruitfully led struggle for independence. And we all know Gandhiji's principles. We can only live with those principles, try to live with them, because such a greatest and noble principles of Gandhiji, we are not here to evaluate or not here to judge, but we can only follow them and also try to inculcate those principles of Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhiji, into the new generations, and also see that to what extent we can live with those principles and bring about the tangible benefit in the society, no matter which sphere we are in, be it in agriculture, be it in rural development, be it in social transformation, be it in political field, whichever field we are talking about. Gandhian principles still continue to be more relevant and also very effective in bringing about the desired change. So I will not be taking much time, because we have got two important speakers who are very noted for their contributions in the Gandhian philosophy, and also not only living and promoting the Gandhian philosophy, but also effectively implementing in their sphere of activity. The first speaker, as I said, and also just now our colleague Srinivas also highlighting, we have got very important speaker, N. Radhakrishnan, who is the best we know in this part of the country, who is presently working in the state of Kerala. Presently, I understand he is the founder of the Ramachandran Institute of Non-Violence. It's a very unique institute. It is at Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, state of Union of India. I would not be taking much time, but I will just go ahead with the program which has already been planned and also circulated among all the colleagues of this institute. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. So as you requested, we are all trying to include Gandhian principles in our life for the betterment of society, sir. So now I request Ms. Anindita Paul, scientist, to briefly tell about the biodata of Professor N. Radhakrishnan, sir.
Professor Nilakanta Radhakrishnan, Director, Gandhi Smriti Darshan, New Delhi, is a Gandhian thinker. He is doctorate in Gandhian philosophy, peace activist, educator, and author of more than 75 books in English, Hindi, Malayalam, and Tamil on Gandhi, peace, education, and harmony. Professor N. Radhakrishnan, also a renowned personality in World's platform. He is visiting faculty to several of world's prestigious universities and peace institutes, and a professor emeritus. He also served Gandhigram University as acting vice chancellor for some time before he was appointed as director of the premier Gandhi Institute and National Memorial on Gandhi in the erstwhile Birla House in New Delhi, where Gandhi was assassinated. As an influential academic and peace worker, he is also one of the world's topmost trainers in nonviolence and leads different training programs in nonviolent conflict management, Gandhi philosophy, and culture of peace in worldwide such as Cyprus, Palestine, Sri Lanka, Colombia, to promote dialogue, harmony, and reconciliation among various segments of society. The ongoing programs under his lead is the Himsa Mukt Bharat Andolan. He is also the theatre specialist and media trainer. Different national initiatives and organizations he presently leads are Chairman of Indian Council of Gandhian Studies, New Delhi, founder of G. Ramachandran Institute of Nonviolence of Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, founder of Gandhi Media Center, New Delhi and Madurai, Secretary General Writers Forum for Harmony, New Delhi, Managing Trustee, Gandhi Peace Mission, and National Chair of Citizens for Human Rights India, and the list goes on. He received many prestigious national and international recognitions. Among them, most notably, award is Dharkata-based Gandhi King Aikida Community Builders Award for his outstanding contribution to promote peace and harmony. Among his national recognitions he has received the Rajiv Gandhi Sadbhavna Award of 2007, MKK Award of 2006 for Human Rights. He has also been selected by the National Communal Harmony Foundation, Government of India, for its prestigious award of 2013. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome you, sir. I request you to kindly deliberate and share your thoughts.
Mute చేయండి. Mute లో ఉంది. ఓకే సార్.
Namaskar.
Very namaskar, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everybody, particularly to the Director of Premier Institute and my good friend, Padmashri Ravindra Kumarji, whom I admire for his steadfast and committed to propagate Gandhi's ideas to literature and his work. And other panelists, learned panelists, esteemed faculty, and others who are part of this webinar on Gandhi. Let me at the outset congratulate you on the initiative that you have taken to reflect, encourage people to reflect on what does Gandhi mean to us today, and how far Gandhiji's strivings in South Africa and India for a new social order, a new political vision, a humanistic approach to the problems that society confronts, and the great strivings Gandhiji made for an alternative lifestyle. Gandhiji did all these things at the beginning of he started doing it at the beginning of the 20th century, and almost for 50 years, Gandhi continued his work, and the 21 years of his work in South Africa, and 32 years of his work back in India, gave a crystal clear view of a new society, a non-violent social order, a non-violent human being, a just society where nobody is discriminated on whatever reason one might have, where justice will be given. See, everybody, not as a what you call as condescendingly by anybody, and his initiative for human rights, gender equity, as well as what we mean respect for nature and living in harmony with nature, enriching the fiber and texture of nature. All these things, don't you think have relevance even today? At the time when you and I are reflecting on contribution to humanity on the eve of the 151st birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. These are the questions that we keep on asking. What does Gandhi mean to you and me? What does Gandhi mean to everybody? Well, yes, our students, our grandchildren, our children, reading history will describe Gandhi as the principal architect of India's freedom. We admire him as the father of the nation. What does it mean actually? Can a nation have a father, or can a nation have a mother? All these are questions. But then the principal question is, when Gandhi crafted the blueprint for a united India, a free India, and the kind of vision that he had, he put all these things in what we call India, my vision. Probably let me begin to discuss it by inviting your attention to a small book Gandhi wrote in 1908, which was entitled Hind Swaraj, a book that was banned by the British people. Can we imagine that Mahatma Gandhi was a seditious campaigner or an anti-national patriot? But the British people very promptly banned the book, describing it as something that contains seditious views about His Majesty or Her Majesty Empire. What were the seditious views? Let us look at it. Was it seditious to advocate a theory that everybody has to self-sufficient, that everybody has to produce whatever material that he or she consumes, that everybody should be courteous, everybody should respect each other, and nobody should eat more than what he or she needs, or when others are starving, people should not just squander in wealth. Was it seditious to say that everybody has a right to live, everybody has a right to earn whatever he or she needs? Was it seditious to think that his country should be free? Was it seditious to say that nobody should exploit us? And then there were other aspects, that is a great country, a country of what is called vision, a country which explain the core of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, that it should be a country where gender equality should be respected. And was it seditious and a thing to argue that a country should be a homogeneous entity where nobody and everybody will have the right to profess his or her faith, particularly religious faith? These are the main arguments of the book. Yet the British found in this book extraordinary seditious. Friends, in 2020, on October 1st or on October 2nd, when we are observing the 151st birthday of this great visionary, freedom fighter, revolutionary thinker, and someone who strove for developing alternatives, should we not ask, what has Gandhi given to humanity other than making India free? These are the questions probably that I would like to pose before you, and over which we can have a discussion if there is time, or I think the other learners participants of this webinar, the families will dwell on these aspects. But still, let us look at one or two things. The most important ideas that are guiding Gandhi to encourage people to develop a new world vision where everybody will respect freely, respect for life, respect for nature, and respect for the individuality of every human being as enshrined in the basic vision of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, today which is known as global human family. The question is, can we be a united human family when there is anger, when there is frustration, when there is violence, when there is rape of even children, even a girl child of 3 years, or a little elderly lady, or a teenage girl, where is justice? That too, as we have gone ahead in terms of material progress, it has brought in enormous lifestyle change in different aspects through intelligent harnessing of technology, science, and other benefits that came out of man's incessant striving for discovering new facts. Where is man today in 21st century? At the first quarter of the 20th century, we are all beset with what is called unforeseen tragedies and unforeseen anxiety, despair, frustration, committing suicide, killing others, and the way that we kill even a mosquito or small animals, people are getting killed. Nobody has what is called any kind of concern and consideration for loss of life. This is what is called the balance of the quarter century in the 21st century, and we are in an unprecedented, unexpected COVID pandemic situation where life has almost come to a standstill. We are not able to move out. Educational institutions are not functioning. Offices are functioning only half-heartedly. We are not able to go to shops. Restaurants are functioning only half-heartedly. Many things, and people are dying. It is not due to any particular reason. It is not due to any reason which we can say that it has happened because of this. But what is the way out? Will new vaccine for the development of this university, including universities, are competing. Drug manufacturers are competing, and the various governments are competing for the development of new vaccine. Will new vaccine will deliver the goods? It is here the issues Gandhi raised in that small book, Swaraj, which Gandhi wrote in 1908, becomes relevant. I don't want you to go back in time, but then at times we may have to reflect and ask ourselves, where do we go from here? If we not learn from history, history is not a cold record of what happened yesterday. History is what is called an inspiring landmark in the onward march of human beings to what is called to discover himself or herself and perfect the art of life so that man or woman emerges a better instrument of what one might say revolution. What's the type of revolution that we want? It's not political revolution we are referring to, but then as the UNESCO prefers state, if you since wars begin in the mind of human beings, the defenses of peace are to be constructed there itself. So the change that you want to see in society anywhere should begin with us. That's why probably Gandhi said with prophetic insight and long vision. Gandhi said, to quote Gandhi, be the change you want to see in others. I repeat for the benefit of the younger section of the participants. Be the change you want to see in the way. The change that you are visualizing, the change that you want in society, you should begin with oneself. The basic assumption of what we call of improvement. You should begin with very simple. What you want to happen in this world, begin that change within yourself. Gandhiji was very, very clear what he wanted to achieve in his autobiography. He had said in biography, my experiment with truth. What does it mean? It meant
మాట్లాడుతున్నా
కాంటాక్ట్ పర్సన్ లేదా
మాట్లాడుతున్నారు మీరు మాట్లాడండి అంటే మీరు బ్లాంక్ అయిపోయింది కదా వెయిట్ చేయాలి.
okay. I'm sorry, there was some disturbance in the link.
It's okay.
బాగా వచ్చింది.
Is it okay right now?
Yes, sir. It's okay, sir.
So the first point I would like to submit to you for consideration is when we look at the totality of the Gandhian legacy, three things come to my mind. First is Gandhi's striving for making what is called every individual reflect on his capabilities. Second, if we want any change, the individual should be prepared to undergo change. That is, every individual has to become an agent of change. Number 3, if that has to happen, we should be conscious of the change that we want, which will not happen unless you develop 2 qualities. One is fearlessness, the other is courage. These 2 things will take you to what is called to experiment with whatever you want to achieve. Like a scientist or a technocrat verifies the various options before him or her by understanding collectively and individually what are the things placed before him or her, so that something tangible could be developed through a process of conscious effort, which will yield some kind of result. That is the art of what is called basic secret of basic research. This being the situation, social change requires time. Social change is not that can be brought about overnight. There are very many variables when we consider or when we think of social change, leave alone political change, individual change. So here, the third aspect Gandhiji emphasized was, like a mother undergoes labor pain in order to give birth to a child which will change her concept of life itself. A mother is ready to die in the process of childbirth. A reformer, a social reformer, has to become conscious of this aspect, that if you want to become an agent of change, you should be ready to face difficulties, hazards, and sometimes even death. These 3 things will take you to what is called the level of understanding the secret of sustainability. And from sustainability, what you call, you will land yourself, or you will see that you are achieving something which will give you a perfect vision of where do you want to go, what are your capabilities. And from this, he realized that man, when I say man, woman, man is essentially, basically a non-violent being, as against the mistaken notions that some textbooks or some authors and some philosophers created the notion that man is basically violent. Man is certainly not violent at all. Man is basically a Shanti Dood, a Shanti Sainik, basically an agent of change. So all changes that you want in this world will have at its root strong affirmative faith that you have to be, what one might say, a non-violent being. You have to lead a non-violent life. A non-violent life should be nurtured in basic principles of cooperation, coexistence, respect for life, and also respect for truth. And what is truth? You remember Gandhiji began his world vision with the assertion, God is truth. From this assertion, Gandhiji moved over to truth is God. There is a lot of difference between these 2 positions, that God is truth and truth is God. Then The third assertion was man is of supreme consideration in all the endeavors of everyone. But that man should not be greedy. That man should not be hypocritical. That man has to be God-fearing and nurtured in what you call the highest principles of spirituality. Spirituality does not mean a virtue associated with a religion alone. Spirituality of living. Spirituality, there is a spirituality beyond spirituality in order to enable us to see the highest values in other human being. Vaishnava Janato Tene Kahiya Japithu Paraye Janere. That vision where when we are looking for the finest human being anywhere, when you are looking for finest qualities, when you are looking around for support, when you are looking for what you call even an atom of comfort to you and others at a time when the world has become very dark and you are helpless, there will come a ray of hope provided you have confidence and courage. Confidence and courage. So when we look at Gandhi, Gandhi has given us what you call an ocean of thoughts, the Himalayas of action, and what you call the lofty principles of life as life evolves. That is why Gandhiji is rated today as one of the greatest revolutionaries of modern time. Today, when we discuss the legacy of Gandhi, the lessons from Gandhi, at a time when we are worried about tomorrow, we are worried about the looming tragedy that we are facing today, these thoughts keep keep us going, give us confidence, give us courage, and also give us make us optimistic so that we will do our best. Now, friends, I come to the last part of my presentation today, that is, Gandhi was not a conventional philosopher. Let us understand. Gandhi described himself to be a man of action. A man of action who drew inspiration from his own insights. There was no Gandhi before Gandhi. Today, all over the world, please understand, let us ask this question. Today, while you are listening to me or you are organizing this webinar, there are in 165 countries webinars and discussions and other activities related to Gandhi are going on. In India, over 6 to 7 lakhs of villages and lakhs of educational institutions in towns, cities, mohallas, and villages, discussions, debates, and other activities wherein Gandhi's philosophy, Gandhi's vision, how Gandhi effected change in every individual, the way poet Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore described Gandhi. He stopped at the huts, before the huts of every small man in the country and asked them to be fearless, asked them to be courageous, and asked them to come out of what is called their shelters, asking for their rights, ready to get themselves inflicted with pain if somebody is denying them what is due to them. This is what Gurudev Tagore said about Gandhi in that famous poem. So today, if in so many educational institutions, so many places, so many countries, discussions like this are going on, Gandhi, don't you think that this itself indicates that Gandhi did not live in vain, that Gandhi left a profound and significant lesson for everybody? That is why people say, while you should discuss Gandhi, while you should get inspiration from his autobiography and his and all what he did, please remember the greatest lesson that Gandhi gave us, taught us, is the ability to discover the Gandhi in each of us. There is a Gandhi in each of us. It's not Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. They are the values associated with his strivings. They are the perspectives associated with a new social order. They are the they are the clarion call for every human being to become an agent of change. If you want change, that change should be based on three principles, Gandhiji said. One is on truth, second is on non-violence, third is non-exploitation. These three things will facilitate orderly change, political change, economic change, social change, and at the end, the change of the individual. And the last point is, if you want a new social order, that new social order cannot be based on principles or factors that promote exploitation. Justice has to be the core of that vision. Towards that just society, gender disparity, economic disparity, political disparity, all these things should be discarded. And the tool Gandhiji gave us to achieve such an ideal situation was his vision of the Panchayati Raj. And Panchayati Raj, introduction of Panchayati Raj, brought in remarkable changes in the texture of Indian society. It is a topic, it should be a topic for research, detailed study during the last few years after Rajiv Gandhi brought in the Panchayati Raj bill, and Honorable Prime Minister Narasimha Rao tried his best to make Panchayati Raj an instrument of social revolution. These ideas came from, cascaded from Gandhi, as if these things will deliver, these things will take India to the goal of a new society. Friends, before I close, I would like to appeal to you to encourage the younger segments of our people, our children and grandchildren, to read Gandhi, to reread Gandhi, to reinterpret Gandhi, so that we will discover that there is a Gandhi in us. Let these webinars or discussions or researches in the university or the normal lectures or the books that we write, let all these things encourage this inescapable fact of history that Gandhi was one of the greatest revolutionaries of all time. There were greater people than Gandhi who lived at different phases of human history, let us understand. But many of them have become just certain chapters in the dustbin of history or in the enormous literature that we have in our library. But Gandhi, as Einstein said prophetically, continues to be a beacon of hope, beacon of light, a beacon of inspiration, and he continues to guide us. He is guiding. But that doesn't mean that everyone has to dress like Gandhi, eat like Gandhi, has to do all what Gandhi did No, let us understand the core of what Gandhi taught us is that we should love each other. We should not hate anybody. These are the lessons that I have understood most outstanding among the several lessons that Gandhi taught us. That is why we say, Ishwar Allah, Tere Naam, Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. Ishwar Allah, Tere Naam, Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. And I close my observation by invoking again Gurudev Tagore, whose a great fan I am. Let our country awake to that level of consciousness of visualizing a society where human brotherhood, love, compassion, reconciliation, understanding, dialogue become what we call the principles that bind us together. After all, without these things, the edifice of humanity will come to a close. Gandhiji ignited that experiment, the importance of that experiment in society, and every individual has the potential for great human revolution. As Dr. Daisaku Ikeda, the great Japanese philosopher and founder of several institutions, go on reminding us, is a great admirer of Gandhi, Dr. Ikeda. So I close my observations by reminding what Dr. Ikeda said about Gandhi, that Gandhi gave us a vision of optimism, a vision of hope, and he gave us the tool of change for the emergence of a new society. Thank you, distinguished friends and panelists, and dear student friends and others, for listening to me, and also the institute which has organized this outstanding program for us to understand each other. Thank you so much.
So much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
സമയത്ര ആയത് 3:30.
Thank you very much, sir, for your excellent presentation on Gandhian philosophy, sir. So what you excellently briefed about what is the Gandhian principles of truth, non-violence, and change, especially the change required for the young generation, the change always required, as Gandhi told, which will be brought in the society because in the lines of fearlessness, courage. One should have fearlessness and courage in order to bring the change in the society. In terms, the change maybe in political terms or economy or social. So these are all the principles told by you, sir. And also Gandhiji introduced Panchayati Raj, as he told, sir, decentralization of decision making, which brought a very big change in administration of the Indian in federal system. And also, as you told last line, sir, love each other. This is the summary of your presentation, sir, in my perception. So as Gandhi principle, the major love each other, so that society, betterment of society will be happening. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Now, I request Dr. Hema to introduce about Padma Shri Dr. Ravindra Kumar, sir, Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor, Meerut University.
Sir, next we have second guest lecture by Padma Shri Dr. Ravindra Kumar Garu, former Vice Chancellor, Meerut University, on Gandhi's life principles and works, a brief overview. Dr. Ravindra Kumar sir is internationally renowned Indologist, educationist, a prolific writer, and published more than 400 articles on topics related to various aspects of Indian culture, civilization, Indology, philosophy, national unity and integrity, way of life and morality. He represented India on behalf of ICCR, Ministry of External Affairs, for highlighting Indian view of peace in resolving conflicts and the subjects related to Indian culture and policy of peaceful coexistence. He has rendered a great service to the nation by authoring and editing over 100 works during the last 26 years. Many of these works cover life and works of top-ranking freedom fighters of the last phase of freedom movement and great nation builders of post-independence India. He has honored with Sardar Patel National Award, Soham Smarkan Award of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Madhya Nirodhan Samman of Kerala Hindi Sahitya Academy, Gandhi Peace Award, and more especially Padma Shri. He is currently an ombudsman of Swami Vivekananda Shubhratri University, Meerut. This is the brief introduction of the Dr. Ravindra Kumar sir. Next we have lecture telecast of sir's video clip, pre-recorded video clip is there, sir. I request Kumar Garu to present.
Life of Mahatma Gandhi by indeed multi-dimensional. No one can deny this fact. He had built up his own concepts and principles, but considering in almost all walks of life, especially in cultural, economic, educational, political, and social fields. He also had a life founded on these ideas, which he formulated after long experience and learning. He believed in conducting experiments on himself and learned from his own mistakes, testified to the satya of what Indian philosophy preached. I therefore choose to say that the Mahatma was in the entire human history among a few great men who had uniformity in their views and actions to the maximum, if not improved. He is remembered as a politician, a social reformer, and a great soul, the Mahatma, the world over. His social, political, and economic ideas and work in these fields always remain the subject of criticism. They are so even today. His nearest colleagues and comrades were disagreeing with his cultural views in his lifetime. And so many others are not agreeing in it. It is a natural public reaction because of difference between one's ideas and actions of having disparity with his way of working, which is unavoidable. This state has always prevailed. Not only this, so many volumes, books have been written on the Mahatma during his lifetime as well as after his passing away, keeping his life, ideas, and works at replay. Much research has been conducted on Mahatma Gandhi and his ideas, way of philosophy. This process still continues all over the world. No one in the entire South and Southeast Asia triggered so much curiosity among researchers, writers, and thinkers as he in this regard. In many universities and institutions of higher education of India and around the world, exclusive Gandhian studies and research centers have been established. Despite this, the Mahatma himself has never been accepted as a scholar in the academic sense. We are all aware of this fact. Gandhiji's socio-political, educational, and cultural ideas were criticized by many in India itself. Several still do so for their own respective regions. The views in these fields and watch protections are, despite their being centered on common man, severely criticized. It is pertinent to know why he has been the butt of so many criticism. Mahatma Gandhi called for maintaining morality in politics in all situations. He was therefore criticized by his political opponents. His mass activities led on the basis of ahimsa were also criticized, as no one believed in the strength of non-violence, thinking it to be the weapon of the weak. Critics did so, being ignorant or indifferent about the basic spirit of morality and non-violence, that is the active goodwill toward living beings, and its acid test is the intent underlying the act. They do so even today. The Mahatma was targeted by social scientists for his cultural ideas and also views related to nationalism and socialism. For this reason, his book, Hind Swaraj, was criticized. But living beings and what criticized. The critics saw with their closed eyes narrowness and isolation in the views related to nationalism rather than noticing the broad outlook persisting therein. They did not try to go deeper to catch the importance of the statement in which he said, "For me, patriotism is the same as humanity. I am patriotic because I am a human and humane." They overlooked nationalism of Mahatma, knowingly, unknowingly, and criticized, assessing it in the light of nationalism of the West. Not only this, his critics found orthodoxy in his views, ignoring one of his most progressive statements, in which he clearly said that for large-scale welfare of humanity, man should continuously step forward on the pathway of progress with cooperation, coordination, and harmony of faculties. Hence, stepping forward is necessary. Therefore, go ahead. If not so, fall is inevitable. In India, a country of villages, cottage industries played a vital role for self-sufficiency of people. For centuries, small industries provided livelihood to the masses. Agriculture and related cottage industries still immensely contribute to the nation's economy. Mahatma Gandhi preferred cottage industries over heavy industries. Therefore, the ideas were disliked by those supporting heavy industries, including economists, industrialists, supporters of socialism of the West, and communists. The Mahatma was a self-realized one, and he accepted the reality of equality of all. He rightly comprehended that progress or welfare of one remained in the welfare of all. That is why, through his concept of taxation, he expected capitalists, industrialists, zamindars, or those who own resources to consider themselves as the trustee of their wealth or resources, and to take it as their moral duty to use all gains thereof in large-scale benefit of the people. Through this, he also called for Antyodaya, upliftment of the last, and Sarvodaya, rise of one and all, so that everyone could get appropriate opportunity in life to have earth or hitch on round paper. But how could the ideas be like? But for those who had mentality that they were only born superior and gaining prosperity by their birthright. The Mahatma, on the other hand, wished to change hearts of capitalists, industrialists, and landlords, filling in them the high level of morality. Thus, through the process of reform, he undertook to transform them into the trustees of capital or resources. But even after the remarkable success of the Bhudan movement, after Mahatma Gandhi's passing away, the importance of his ideas is not accepted today by those who still believe that no fundamental change or transformation in society is possible without the use of violence. Many did not like Mahatma Gandhi's statement related to culture, in which he said, "I do respectfully contend that an appreciation of other culture can fitly follow, never precede an appreciation and assimilation of our own." Although he mentioned in the beginning of his statement, "Nothing can be further from my thought than that we should become exclusive or erect parents." But without comprehending well his views, the basic spirit at the root of his statement, and also the true meaning and the sole purpose of a culture, knowingly or unknowingly, and connecting culture with a particular religious community or a sect, they could not digest his idea. India is still replete with such people even today. I have already talked about the fact that Mahatma Gandhi is not accepted as a scholar in the academic sense. However, in my view, his ideas on education are matchless, and for this, he emerged as a distinct education. For the all-round development of one's personality. His ideas of Bunyadi Shiksha, basic education, is not only significant in current perspective, but is effective to achieve the goal as per the basic spirit and purpose of education. His concept of education is all-timely, therefore worth following even today. In short, despite the many accepting the Mahatma as their ideal and icon and following non-violence based way of life shown by him in their struggle for equality, freedom, justice, and rights, his ideas and actions are even his personal life remains subject of criticism. Currently, it is so. Unfortunately, he is more criticized for his ideas and actions baselessly in his own country. One can, I will repeat time and again, make critical analysis of ideas and actions, works of Mahatma Gandhi on solid grounds. A critical analysis of one's ideas cannot weaken them or shrink their significance. Rather, a critical analysis of one's thoughts or his way of life makes it healthy and strong, bringing the importance of his ideas. The Gandhian views and the way of Mahatma Gandhi are also not exception of this rate. Not only this, ideas or the way of Mahatma Gandhi, after its critical analysis, deeply appeals to all of its critics, small or big, to realize the basic spirit and the intent of the Gandhian thought and debate. Martin Luther King Jr. in the beginning did not agree with the Gandhian way of non-violence, but after going into its root, getting familiar with the basic spirit and intent of the Gandhian way, he realized the all-time significance of it. He had said that in Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, he found the most practical and morally based method available to oppressed people in their struggle for freedom. In the first half of his public life, Nelson Mandela also did not agree with the non-violent way of Mahatma. Gandhi, which is ultimately dedicated to the Satya, the truth. All those who are familiar with the series of events of South Africa, especially related to the struggle of Mandela, and also subject specialists, they are all aware that there was a time when he went far away from the Gandhian ideology. But in the second half of his life, at the door of the freedom of his country, South Africa, he accepted that there was no alternative to the non-violent Gandhian way. Both the affirmations, the statement of Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela were not spontaneous. Both of them had continuously fought against suppression of their competitors, for justice of millions in their respective countries, the United States of America and South Africa respectively. Confirmation of King and Mandela were undoubtedly the result of their comprehension of the basic spirit and prejudice-free analysis of non-violent Gandhian way, and experiences they had had from their continuous struggle for justice in their respective countries and achieve success thereof. By the basic spirit of the Gandhian ideas or debate, it is in fact necessary to comprehend in a state completely free from prejudices for one who desire to be familiar with views, works, and the way of Mahatma Gandhi or even his life. The truth of the universal unity remains as the nucleus in views of Mahatma Gandhi. The universal unity calls for equality of everyone and welfare of one and all. However, in this, man as the superior being of the entire creation, who possesses extraordinary qualities like intellect and creativity, remains in priority. On the basis of these qualities, he is through the large-scale cooperation of fellow beings capable of paving the way of welfare of all. This basic spirit of the Gandhian ideas established Gandhi as a Mahatma, a great soul, or a saint. The colossal brotherhood concept of Mahatma Gandhi, a broad-based approach of fraternity of mankind, could be well comprehended in the ideas related to equality-centered. All of which socio-political critics or those who criticize Mahatma Gandhi's economic ideas or views of nationalism need to have familiarity with this reality. In this regard, the ideas appearing under the title Brotherhood of Man in one of the issues of Young India are worth considering, as they clearly reflect Mahatma Gandhi's firm belief in universal unity, which essentially includes all living beings, equality of human beings, and longing for the welfare of one and all. Having all beings in the center, the Mahatma said, I want to realize brotherhood or identity, not merely with the being called human, but I want to realize identity with all life, even with such things and crawl upon earth, because we claim descent from the same. The only basis of the universal unity and the one eternal and ever flowing law. And that being so, all life in whatever form it appear must be essentially affirming his commitment towards the unity of the entire human race or mankind, equality of all and welfare of everyone. The Mahatma said, my mission is not merely brotherhood of Indian humanity. My mission is not merely freedom of India. Though today it undoubtedly engrosses practically the whole of my life and whole of time. But through realization of freedom of India, I hope to realize and carry on the mission of brotherhood of man, keeping especially patriotism as the nucleus, the Mahatma further said, my patriotism is not an exclusive thing. It is all-embracing, and I should reject that patriotism which sought to mount upon the distress or exploitation of other nationalities. The conception of my patriotism is nothing if it is not always in every case without exception consistent with the broadest good of humanity and knowledge. It is just one example from Mahatma Gandhi's Brotherhood of Man centered views, elucidating his burning desire for unity, equality, and welfare of one and all. This eventually diverse commitment of his ideas and way to the universalist. He expressed such views throughout his life and wished for the upliftment of everyone. He struggled his whole life accordingly, going against the wish of his close comrades and the most leading figure of India, like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Mahatma Gandhi refused to support the imperialists in the Second World War, even if the English assured the freedom of India soon after the war. The reason was simple: humanity had to be suppressed in the war. Nothing could be gained except the loss of life of innocent people in the war. And this happened. We all know this well. Therefore, in place of extending help to the English in the war, Mahatma Gandhi asked them to quit India. He called on his compatriots to compel the imperialists to leave India. The individual satyagraha of the year 1940, followed by the Quit India movement, the August Kranti in 1942, were the result of the calm made by the Mahatma. Independent India to dedicate herself to the freedom and prosperity of everyone in the world. Mahatma Gandhi, with this clear message, called on every Indian, woman or man, at the launch of the Quit India movement in 1942. It was fully in the consonance of two of his statements of the year 1925, in which he had clearly said that independent India would work for the welfare of one and all in the world. In his own words, I want India's rise so that the whole world may benefit. I indeed do not want India to rise on the ruin of other nations. And I would like to see India free and strong so that she may offer herself a willing and pure sacrifice for the betterment, the welfare of the world. A pure spirit of human welfare remained intact in Mahatma Gandhi's statements. It is in fact the essence of his ideas and the identity of his sentiments. Keeping aside all prejudices, each and everyone, gender or age, need to comprehend the ideas and words or actions of Mahatma. Further, having the basic spirit of ideas and actions of Mahatma Gandhi intact, they could be refined, made conducive as per the demand of time and space, and adopted for getting freedom, justice, and rights, all necessary for human being. His own lifestyle was the result of his long research on human behavior, in which he himself was the center. He lived what he preached.
చేసేసాను
Superficially, they can never get the knack of them. His ideology has to be practiced first and criticized later. This is the life, philosophy, and the essence of words of the mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Next.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Okay, now it's okay.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Ravindra Kumar talked about Gandhiji's legacy, his values, his ideas, his contribution towards social and political world. Sir, you also talked about importance of Mahanatma, that is Mahatma in each and everyone's consciousness and hearts. Gandhiji's associations with Nelson Mandela's, Gandhiji's way of work for brotherhood, for freedom of India, and his patriotism, the fraternity for mankind, equality for human being, universal unity, his struggle for upliftment of society, which embraces our hearts till now. Mahatma Gandhiji's life continues to inspire our current generation of the youth to inculcate Gandhiji's values in our next generation.
Thank you. Now I request the Sanandita scientist to propose vote of thanks on the submission.
It is my great pleasure to propose vote of thanks on behalf of organizers and my own personal behalf. I sincerely thank Dr. N. Radhakrishnan, Director, Gandhi Smriti Darshan, for accepting our invitation in short notice and his excellent deliberation on Gandhian philosophy. Sir, your thoughts are so deep and simple as like our Gandhiji's principle, and we firmly believe that we can follow the footsteps shown by our pioneer Bapuji for the betterment of our nation. Thank you, sir, once again. I also take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude to Padma Shri Dr. Ravindra Kumar for giving his consent in a very short notice, and he was ready to deliberate in one word request. Thank you once again for your inspirational talks. On behalf of committee members, I would also like to thank all our staff members, including different research stations, to actively participate in this first day webinar session and also deliver their thoughts. Last but not the least, I'm thankful for deep appreciation for the support and encouragement provided by our director of the institute. Lastly, Albert Einstein once said about Mahatma Gandhiji, generation to come will scarce believe that such a man who worked upon this art, today's generation can channelize the energy for nation building only if they feed the value of which Gandhiji fought throughout his life. With this word, I end this program of this today's session. I also request all the staffs and colleagues to like their thoughts and connect with us tomorrow for the celebration of 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhiji. And tomorrow's talk will be delivered by Dr. Rama Reddy Keri, psychiatrist and another Gandhi thinker. Thank you so much.
Okay.